We have some people that have joined us today that were not here yesterday. And so, in a special way, I would love to first recognize them. Dr. Jimmy Lamo, Principal Rice Breeder, Naro. And then we have the branch manager for Equity Branch Mbale. Thank you. Yes, at this point in time, I'm going to welcome Professor Fred Kabi. I hope he's in here. Okay. If he's not around, I'm just going to welcome the team from VamiPro. They're just going to give us a brief of what we have been doing. That is with VamiPro and Boginyanyazadi. VamiPro are one of our partners in implementing this project. Yes, maybe just before the team from VamiPro comes, I would just love to give us, to recap what we did discuss yesterday. We had the different partners that we're working with, giving us a brief of what they've been doing. That is Bongomin Group, that have been undertaking the objective of having the farmers trained on SRPs, but as well Bogi Nyanyazadi, that gave us a brief on what we've been doing with the rice legume integration, and then also including Agrinet, that is working with these farmers that are growing the legumes to offtake the grain. But we also got a chance to hear from our CEO of Kilimo Trust about what Kilimo Trust does, and then also the project team leader, Mr. Anthony Mugambi, still gave us a brief on the achievements so far of the project, like for Uganda, where we have up to approximately 4,000 farmers so far that have undergone training in both SRPs, which is sustainable rice practices, as well as the rice legume rotation. And so, at this point in time, still, I would now love to welcome the team from VamiPro.
Thanks, Paul. A slight change of program. After the recap, we'll give a chance to, we have a team from Equity and a team going to the field. We'll want to just give them some few minutes to share. Then we will then hear the cases from our partners, 2 or 3 cases, before we can move into looking at the theory of change, then the opportunities for scale up, before we can wrap up all the key activities we propose into the next phase. Before then we can go out to the field. So thank you very much. Let me welcome the team from Equity.
Good morning. I work with these devices. That's where we do most of the work. Yes, thank you, Kilimo Trust. Thanks, everyone. My name is Nelson Bamwini. I'm the head of product development at Equity Bank. I sit at Church House in Kampala, although most of my implementations are in the field. Together with me is Mr. Sozi Ahmed, who is our branch manager for Mbale. So I'm going to talk about some of the global items, but also would like him also talk about the items or the products that the team here can be interested in that can be accessed at the branch level. Yeah, so Equity Bank has been in Uganda for quite some time. It started as a microfinance at some point and later became a tier 1 bank. So basically, we've seen paramount growth in terms of the market share and the customer base and the service offering, that now we are chasing the top boys. Actually, we're already among the top boys and gearing to be the #1 bank within 2-3 years to come. And how we're doing that is, of course, it's through the products we're offering and then the market share that we are getting. And all this is geared towards digitization to make sure that we are able to give value to the customer from wherever they are, that you can be a member of the bank even when you're in Butaneja, and you might even never visit the branch. So actually, if you look at the t-shirt that I'm having, this is a new product that we've just launched, that anyone, anywhere, can open an account and become a member of Equity Bank without visiting the branch, without coming to sign any form. Just dialing *247#, you'll be asked for your NIN and your names, and that's it. We shall open for an account and you can able to do the deposits. But what informs that? Say, for example, we have so many products. Yesterday I had the gentleman saying there's no bank that lends even to slashers. I actually want to tell you that this actually has been happening with the bank. You know, we have credit products that go as low as 100,000 shillings. And of course, mostly the people who have benefited from it are the women groups. They are always quick to come to the bank and ask, how can you help us? Especially if you come to the markets. If you go to the markets, you find so many women have gotten those micro loans starting at 100,000 from Equity Bank. So yes, no matter the group or no matter the person, this bank has grown to become what it is. Wealth that gets created, we share it together. So if I may give a brief about the bank. Right now, we are running on a highly digitized model to be able to reach customers. We've created the highest infrastructure, I think, than any other bank has done in this country in terms of being able to serve customers. We have about 6,500 agents across the country. And on top of that, we have 43 branches, and there are 10 more coming up by end of March. We shall be having 10 more branches across the country. But also, in terms of digitization to be able to serve the customer, we've tried to put the services on the phone. You can be able to open your account using your mobile phone. You can transact using your mobile phone. And if, say, you feel like you cannot be supported by your phone, then we have enabled what we call the assisted services. The assisted service is where you go to an agent and you're helped either to open an account or to initiate a loan request. And if that is impossible for you, or maybe the amounts you're looking for, that's when you visit this gentleman's office and it comes to you. But how has the bank managed to do that? The bank runs on 2 pillars. There's the first pillar, which is commercial. Of course, we are not a charity institution. The business must run. But as we do the business, we are running on the social arm. The social arm, which is the one that catalyzes what we're doing in the commercial side. How does it happen? If, say, we are focusing on climate smart technologies, basically climate smart technologies being one of the pillars under the social program, and we are providing, say, rice farmers with financing, with literacy, or with knowledge on how best they can do this agriculture, providing them money that they can use to acquire the tools. At the end of the day, they are going to produce. And when they are producing, we are banking them. When we are banking them, they are keeping their money safe, but also we are investing the same, and there's that shared income. Say maybe when you have saved with the bank, you're earning some interest. When you earn that interest, you're able to bring it back into your business. But also as you save, it increases your score with the bank, and maybe later you can be able to get a huge or a bigger loan amount. So with that, if we start to say that now we have come for climate smart technologies, how are we going to be involved as a bank? How can we finance this last person to be able to make sure they are part of the family and we are growing together? And I was interested in this mainly because right now the bank has actually created a product called Eco Loans. This product of Eco Loans is looking at home lighting solutions, it's looking at cooking solutions, it's looking at climate smart agriculture. And we are giving as low as the 100,000 that I told you about, and we're also able to give up to about like 200 million in terms of credit facilities. The 200 million, of course, goes to the say, companies which want more financing to improve their production, but the farmers, they have a chance of getting the amounts, say, between 100,000 and 5 million to improve on your farming. How we shall do this, for those, of course, who are in produce organizations, it becomes easier. You can apply through your organization or your farmer group, and the bank will be able to lend to you. And through the group, and you're able to business. But those who are already working with, say, big off-takers, I don't know which off-taker that is this side for rice. We know like the Aponyes in the north, there are also others who are dealing in maize. They are actually the ones who are recommending these farmers, saying we have 3,000 here whom we are working with, please give them credit or come and be able to finance them as we are looking for market for their produce. So we are providing so many agri loans in that kind of structure. But the critical component that I needed us to know is that the bank does not just want to give you money and walk away. So one key component that the bank has focused on is financial literacy. I know he will talk more about it. That we are giving this for free. Even if Kilimo organized you and says you need us for 5 days to come and take the farmer through financial literacy. How do you save? How do you maintain capital? How do you make sure you reinvest it? How do you make sure you are not loss-making? How do you make sure you can grow as a business? All this knowledge, especially for the farmers, is for free. So any produce organization, if you're there, if you can organize your numbers and you're able to reach out to the branch, the bank will come and give this training for free. It's part of the social pillars that the bank looks at providing, because we've grown because the community has been part of us, and ensuring that the community understands what it means to be banking or what it means to get financial knowledge is critical to us. So if I go back to what I started with, Start 247, we realize, say, a produce organization would call us and say we have these 10,000 farmers. They are not able to travel to Mbale, but we need them to get loans through their group. So for them to get those loans, they must have bank accounts. So how will they get the bank accounts if they cannot come to the branch or to go to an agent to open an account? So we went into the digitization drive, that for anyone who has a national ID and we're able to dial *247, we shall create for you an account instantly, and this account we shall map it to your produce organization, and through that you're able to get the financing. Is that clearer? So if say you had your phone and you try to dial right now and you dial *247#, we can even give it a try. We can give it a try right now. If you dial *247# and you enter your national ID detail, you can open an account. I'll take the opportunity to fund the first 4 accounts. At least I'll put some money on it that will be opened from this conference. Yes, you open it and give it to me. Once you get the SMS with your bank account, I'll be able to put some funds on it. It can be like one of the trials you see. And that's how we are using digitization to be able to serve you from wherever you are. So without any assistance from me, and once you dial that and you enter your national ID details, you'll be able to open that account. Yeah, we are looking at the national ID for Uganda. Of course, if you open a Kenyan shillings account, I might not be able to. I might not be able to to fund you. If I put, say, like 100,000, that will be Kenyan shillings. You're in a billion, eh? But have you been able to dial that? The first 4 accounts that I get, I'll make sure there's some funding that goes to them. Just for you to see how the bank is now getting on the ground to be able to support you. And yes, of course, I think in some areas we have not reached there, but I was interested in the discussion by, is it Bongmin? The gentleman from Bongmin. Bongomin. Is he available? I'm interested in making sure that even if it means getting him to church house and we sit with the MD and we have a discussion on how to work with Bongmin, we shall be glad. Because the funds are available. There's a lot of money that the bank has committed to make sure that we push to the farmers. So if we can work with him and even other organizations, if you feel the bank can support you, either we support you as a group or we support you as a single entity, we can even start this journey today. Good thing the branch manager is here. Even if you want us to assign a resource to come and visit you at the areas of operation, to understand how you work. Or if you say you need the financial literacy training that the bank provides for free to your farmers, also this is we are available to partner with you and be able to provide that. Has anyone succeeded? Star 247 hash. Who has opened? Have you received the SMS? Yes, congratulations, you are now a member. You shall receive an SMS with account details. Okay. Has the SMS come? Now, this is how it works. If you already have an account, of course, we shall show you, we shall validate your national ID and even the phone number. We shall just show you the mobile banking menu. Like for you now, since you're already a member, that's why you're being welcomed. Hi, Andela, please enter EasyPay login. You has received the SMS? Yeah. Okay, you can help me note the account. I'll be able to. I'll be able to make sure that I can move funds, some funds to it. Now, you've been able to open? Will I go back with money? You have received the SMS? Okay. So here I have 3. Ahmed is going to help me take that. Has anyone also succeeded this side? Ahmed. Pascal, maybe we shall, I want us to cross-check here, then we shall be able to. There's another one there. This table is on fire. This table, have you been successful? No, you haven't dialed. You've gotten. If you already have an account, you're being welcomed. Okay. Great. But I think you can see where we are going now. Yeah? We no longer want the farmer to walk the miles that you've been walking, be able to use it. Of course, I wanted to tell you. No, it's not. That's why I'm mentioning it. The regulator requires that you don't have a lot of dormant accounts. So these ones we are opening, which are technology enabled, like this. You're given 30 working days to have put some money. The least you can put is 5,000, and you can use mobile money. And that's the other part that I want to talk about. So once we funded this farmer, he can be able to get this money and go to some of the stockists that we are working with, and they can redeem or transfer the money directly to, say, those who are selling acaricides or some or herbicides. And these guys, they're going to have the money straight into their shop, the bank accounts at the shops, and they are able to provide you services. But also, if say the guy cannot be able to find how to deal with the transaction, you move to a nearby agent. We have also partnered with other banks, and actually you can go to an agent of either, say, like Finca, and you're able to move money into your Equity account. So what we've done also through agency banking, you can deposit at any location where you find an agent, no matter which bank that agent belongs to. So still you cannot say you have not seen an equity agent if you want to deposit or withdraw. Also, if maybe the person finds that hard, then you'll be able to use mobile money. If you go and say *165 on MTN under financial services, that is option number 6, then bank deposit or bank withdraw, you find this account is already linked to your profile at the teleco. Immediately you create it, we link it with the teleco to your mobile money, and you will even be validated instantly without even you first entering details. So on Airtel, you can go to 185, then financial services, which is option number 7, then under banks, you see equity as number 1 under that menu. Still, you can be able to deposit money. You have just 30 days to put some credit on that account, but for those that have been opened here, I'm going to make sure that I do a transfer straight from my account to that account so that it is activated immediately and you're able to use it going forward. So in terms of the technology and moving the journey, we want to stay working with Kilimo Trust to see how we reach out to as many as possible, especially the groups and the farm organizations. We want to work with the off-takers. We want to work with the produce and machinery suppliers to finance them. We have a huge program in terms of financing that I think I can take a whole day to explain. There's what we call the stock financing. If, say, you're a production company and you have people who are buying from you, or businesses who are buying from you to go and have to stock their shops, we can provide them financing so that they are able to purchase from you, and for you paid in real time, and then the bank starts demanding from those who took your stock. That's the stock financing. Is it clear? If you're a production warehouse and you have people who are buying from you, or the shops or the merchants, so what we can do, we partner with you, we create you as a head account, and whoever comes to purchase from you, we move funds in form of credit from the account to you. For you have your money, you clear your books, and then the bank starts demanding the person who took the stock from you. That's another program. I had the gentleman who was talking about the production of oil was it from soybean? Yes. So there's also an arrangement that we can reach out to you. Those in production of machinery, we can help you to get financing, to get equipment. Some of these loans also have the agricultural loans, where the interest even is going as low as 12%. People don't know this, but we have agric loans where we are providing at 12% going upwards, depending on the service you're going to be doing. All these are available. If you want, reach out to him or reach out to me. We can send a team either from Kampala or either from here to come and support you. But also, the critical thing to know is that this is now a regional bank. We're operating in Kenya, TZ, Rwanda, DRC, South Sudan, Uganda, and we are continuing to grow. So we are also facilitating cross-border movement. If you say you're in supply of goods across the borders, we also help you in cross-border transaction management. All these facilities are available. All we need is to be able to come to you we agree on how we work together and set up a working framework, either it is financing, or either it is for payments collection, or either it's for funds management. Thank you very much. I'm still waiting for the accounts that are coming through Star 247. How many do we have? I think I want to come there as he's also giving a brief. Maybe you can help me raise a hand. I come to you to take note of the account. Okay, that table. Good. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Nelson, from product development. The other bit I can tell you about him is if there is any product you can think of that the bank does not provide, he's behind designing all those products. Yeah, so in case you have any product that you feel you must obtain from Equity, but the bank doesn't have it or you've not heard of it anywhere, he's in charge of that. Otherwise, a good morning to you all. My name is Ahmed Sozi. I sit at Mbale branch working with Equity. Like he said, Equity has been around for some time, and we pride in existing in a number of East African countries. You don't find it in so many banks. The other bit I want to add to his, I want to take just 4 minutes of your time. The other bit I want to add to his is with Star 247. Why 247? We call it 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week. We imagine that's an easy USSD to remember, 24/7. Now, with easy loans, we have something called easy loans. We can give out up to 3 million shillings to somebody who uses a phone without visiting the bank. When you dial 247 and you don't have an account attached to that number, you will be triggered to open the account. Now, when you dial it and you have an account attached to the number, the message will be, key in your PIN, then you go to the menu. And in the menu, you can buy airtime, you can transfer money, you can ask for a loan. That's a bit I want to pick out. And you can ask for up to 3 million shillings. So a farmer out there with a need of 1 million, 2 million, you don't need to visit the bank. You only need to put your record right, and Equity will get to you without you facing its people. What does it require? For those that have their phones in the hands, if they could try that, you do star 247 and you have an account, star 247 hash, you will see the bit, it doesn't cost a thing, so don't worry. For those on Airtel, maybe something little, but MTN is free. Star 247 hash. Now, guess what I see? It asks you to enter your PIN. You enter the PIN. The PIN, it's in the messages, one of the messages we sent. But if you have just created, it's not yet active. First we need the funding, then we activate. But these are the options. Easy Pay. Option number 1 is Easy Pay. Now if you're keen and you have looked at my t-shirt, behind it is Pay with Equity. Yeah, so that's the option, Easy Pay. Then we have Easy Loan. Easy Loan, you can apply up to 3 million shillings. But what are the requirements? You only need to have banked with us for 6 months with an active account. Yes, that's because we're not going to profile you. We're not coming to take pictures. Yeah? We're not coming to get documents from you. We're saying, please transact with us for only 6 months. Make your records right. Get the money. Pay it in the background. We don't need to visit you. And the rest of the things that you can do. So what are our comments here in dealing with a value chain, agricultural value chain? We are quite disturbed by the following things. 1, over-dependence on weather, nature. Yeah? For the funding that goes to agriculture, people are over-depending on nature, and nature is changing so swiftly. I actually admired the person yesterday that presented about irrigation. We have to think about how to embrace nature. but keep producing across the year. Then the other bit we usually look at when we are funding agriculture people. We want continuity. We fund continuity. If by any chance we look at you and you're just in rice for a single season and you will be out soon, it's quite difficult for us to fund you. We want someone who has done this again and again. If you're trying it the first time, the bank might find it difficult to establish whether you have enough experience or not in it. You could be excited and you bury all the money you have in rice, but have you gotten the necessary information about it? So please try to mixed farm. Yeah, you deal with different products. That makes it so easy for us to fund people in agriculture. Then the other bit is we need to deal with quality assurance. We have a client who produced sunflower, and it was in huge quantities. But then the off-taker flagged it down on premises of quality. Now, this was so regrettable. The person couldn't meet their loan obligation on time simply because there was a problem with their quality. Yesterday, I had somebody here talking about our rice. I want to share with you a story, a short story. One time I was driving back to see my family in Kampala, and I forgot to buy rice from within Mbale, Bugwere market. So somewhere past Budaka, I receive a call and I tell this person, we were talking about different things. Told this person, I wanted to buy rice, I've not bought it at Mbale. I'm wondering where to buy it from. He asked me, what are the options you have? Told him, I'm driving to Busembatia. He told me, please don't buy it there. Is this a true story? Does it exist in your heads too? Someone told me, please don't buy it from Busembatia. Now, okay, how do you expect the buyers to trust you when you're playing about with the quality? So I just wanted to share with you that simple story. You might succeed at making the first sale with mixing different types. Maybe you get super put on top, yeah? And the rest is all the other brands combined. You can succeed at selling at the first shot. Second shot, what about the other times? We're only saying, please mind the quality you put on the market. Let's try to add value to our products because they will fetch more money. Strengthening linkages. I'm glad here we have farmers and off-takers because I had somebody in factories and then I've had others at the farm. Now we're saying we should strengthen the linkages. What intrigued me more yesterday, someone was asking another member of this place, what informs the decision of pricing? You remember that question? What do you base on to price? And the answer was as plain as forces of demand and supply. Now, people that are deliberate on what they are doing have made interventions around that force. If you let it play naturally, then somebody will lose. The producers of oil globally, when they felt they were being cheated, they came up with OPEC. Do you know what happens at OPEC? Bring 5 gallons, bring 6, bring 7. Such that they don't overflood the market. But that speaks to some other preparation. As farmers, do you have buffers? Do you store some excesses? Can you preserve it and maintain it? So there is a lot to controlling those forces than merely thinking that they will produce the best for you. So I urge you to think and think hard about that. And Kilimo Trust, as the intermediary here, that's another aspect to look at. When the farmer goes and tills 5 acres of tomatoes, and then they realize that tomatoes have gone so low, for 2 tomatoes, one can give you 100 shillings. How can the farmer be helped to keep on that ride? Because some have opted out simply because the prices are unbecoming. Lastly, on that, I wrote here something called record keeping. Farmers don't want to keep record. We finance farmers here at Mbale. And then you ask someone, okay, for how long have you been in this business? 12 years. Okay? Do you have an account with any bank in Uganda? No, my money is always on a move. Okay? So how can the bank know what you have been doing for the last 12 years? Do you have a mobile money statement? Can we process mobile money? No, I don't even keep it there. Once I get my cash, I take it direct. Now, you make it a bit hard for this person that wants to invest in you to evaluate your actual strength. I wonder whether this is a clear point to us all. Let's keep a record. Even when you intend to use that money tomorrow, let it slip over the bank today. Because you might need this statement tomorrow. Just as proof that this is what I do. So what does Equity offer? We offer value chain agricultural funding. All right? Across the value chain, we have loans to agricultural production. We call them agro-production loans. To the farmer that goes digging, tilling the land. To the farmer that rears their birds in the numbers they do. We have that kind of loan. We have agro-processing loans. These are not for farmers that are dealing with the digging. No, agro-processing is for the people that are trying to add value. They are processing the output to turn it into something admirable. Then we have agro-marketing loans. Agro-marketing. Somebody wants to cause some awareness or brand their product. We talked about branding yesterday. Someone was asking, okay, if we rebag from our own rice, you get our own rice and put it in Pakistan, and someone tells you this Pakistan tastes good. Can you be honest to tell them that I put in different type of rice? Or would it be easy for you to go back and call it a local name and people appreciate it for what it is? So as you decide on rebagging, think about the disservice you're doing this country. It will be very hard for you to convince people back. It's like when DP lost its support to FDC, Up to now, they are still struggling. So make sure you don't lose your support. So that is agro-marketing. And we have, finally, agro-investment loans. Like someone wants to buy a sprinkler or a certain... It's easier to deal with an organized group of farmers. I think we shall break it. And you can transact.
We are going to be hearing from one of our partners.
I would like to start by sending in special appreciation to Kilimo Trust for enabling us have this kind of opportunity and forum for linkages. My name is Moses Oburu. I work as the Business Development Manager for Vermipro. Vermipro is basically a local company here. We are into production of organic agricultural inputs. We have a wide range of products and solutions to the agricultural sector. This particular program, R4ICSA, is looking at sustainable rice production, helping to conserve the environment, helping to improve livelihoods of the farmers, increasing productivity, and also being able to feed the population. We are trying to address all that with, I call it one technology. Basically, we are giving alternatives to agrochemicals. There has been a lot of noise here and there, or cries from different stakeholders about the various environmental challenges, including health risks, some related to cancers and so on. Yesterday, I remember from some presentation, we have those farm workers from, I think that is Bongomin Group. Some chemicals, while used in the farm, despite the interest to use PPEs, personal protective equipment, I can challenge anybody here. If you go to a paddy rice field, when you are to apply any chemical, I don't see any kind of PPE that can work in such an environment. We've gone to Butareja here recently, even gumboots don't work. You will enter, it will remain in the mud. So it is better to have inputs, or I would say
the so-called chemicals, which are safe to the users as well. It is not worth it employing people now, and in 5-10 years to come, they get some diseases, some sicknesses, some relating to cancer, and in the next 2-3 years, they are gone. The employment we are giving them now would not have meaning. Kindly, let's move next slide so I can address go straight to the products. Yes, okay, I will start from there. Like I said, we have a wide range of inputs. For crops and vegetable side, we have fertilizers. We have organic fertilizers, mainly vermicompost, which is also one of the activities that this project is focused on. The other organic fertilizer, we are looking at enriched biochar, which for us, we branded it as vermichar. I had a few catalogs out. I don't know if some people took time to pick them. There is a picture of the product, which is also now under certification. We have biofertilizers. Here we are talking of products which restore soil health. Naturally, Uganda as a country is known to have very fertile soils. I see it everywhere, especially with the coffee sector. Our, say, Ministry of Agriculture will always flag it that we have very fertile soils. But from the start, nobody brought, for example, the conventional fertilizers and applied in those soils to get the name fertile soils. Those were acts of nature. The biology, the science behind the soil was still intact. So we have some products which help to restore that natural state of the soil, that we put the right microorganisms, those bacteria and fungus which naturally would live in the soil. This is mainly in very high concentrations, that they are able to restore that soil to be able to support plant growth and avail whatever nutrients that the plants need. We also have some other foliar fertilizers. There is one called Calphos, mainly for fruits and vegetables, to help improve fruiting and also reduce flower abortions. Issues of pests are everywhere. Whether you want to say you're organic or not organic, pests don't discriminate. They will definitely get to any kind of plantation. So we have a biopesticide which help in control of a wide range of pests. And then for our brand, can we move next? Yes, then now outside the crops and vegetable sector, we also have products which are for livestock, poultry, and fish farming. In livestock sector, we mainly cover 3 elements. One, the first element is basically we have a probiotic feed additive. This one addresses key production challenge. Some of us here have been rearing animals, either cows for milk or you want to fatten bulls. But we have scenarios that our cows deliver. Sometimes we even lose the cows because there is no milk. Or you're trying to fatten and you're keeping one bull 3, 4, 5 years, still it doesn't reach really the desired market weight. Now, the reason as to why there is that productivity gap, yes, there is a challenge with some of the genes or the breeds out there, but also we have scenarios that even the local breeds have capacity to reach some desirable weight. Because you find one person has maybe better looking cows than the other person. So the feed additive we have here addresses gut health. That product contains some beneficial microorganisms, again, which are specific to that sector. They mainly help to work on improving the intestinal lining, and by that you end up improving the feed conversion, that when you feed this animal, it is able to extract the energy, the nutrients from the feeds you're giving, and the result will be in terms of the growth, in terms of improved immunity, and in terms of increase in milk production. Then the other element which also affects production is stress. I will take just an example. For example, if some of us here are not feeling well, maybe you have a wound somewhere and so on, despite how good a meal or a meal can be like presented to you, you may not enjoy that. Similarly, these animals, sometimes we don't take care of the environment. You find the kraal is so smelly, for sure that directly affects your production. Now, clearing of that smell also sometimes is not very easy. Yesterday we talked of using biochar mixed with husks to use as animal beddings. But you can use it in a particular phase, then after a few days, again the place is smelly, you have to continue to use. So it becomes tedious and maybe expensive. So we also have another product for removal of those smell and also treating the waste, helping to convert that cow dung into useful manure. And the process is very short. I will explain it when I reach what we are actually doing with this project. Then finally, we are also into production of concentrates. Sometimes the feeds we give our animals don't have sufficient nutrients. Animals are just eating to fill the stomach, but really not to give you the desired result. And I heard so many people talking of farming as a business. If you're keeping, say, dairy cows, you need milk. So you need to maximize the milk production. If you're into fattening, you should be able to do it in a shorter time, so you do more cycles, and that has a business sense. Next. Then, in poultry, the science is almost same. We also work on the gut health to improve growth rate, to improve egg production, and also boost immunity. Because some of us know that when there are disease outbreaks in the farms, at times the loss can be up to 100%. Sometimes we may not be able to control, but when you have immunity of the birds boosted, then you'll be able to expect returns from your investment. Now, I'll give an example like farmers who are doing broilers. We have experienced that at a certain time, in fact, some of them get out of business within a few years. They maybe stock 2 times. The 3rd cycle, they leave. Reason being, they say feeds are expensive. But the problem added in this, but I have to do with biology. We worked as naturally, if them is in the posting, always raw food. You're trying to process it faster. And then also you're trying to blend those useful microorganisms that when the animals eat, the breaking down becomes much easier. Now the other part is that process. Normally those who do silage, they use a lot of, they call it molasses. You bury, it's a very tedious process. Dig a big dish, put that thing, mix, add molasses, cover. And later when you open that, you find due to the oxygen getting into that silage which is ready, the quality starts deteriorating immediately. That's why it is better to prepare silage in small packs, whereby as a farmer, you only open what you're ready to use. So the animals get it when it still has the value needed. And even the flavor of that silage is improved by the same additive. And in the field, we got a challenge that some of the places, I think they didn't take care of it well. Even rats were consuming the silage. Then lastly, I've talked of the 3, the silage, the vermi, the biochar, and then vermicomposting. Then lastly, we are also doing trials or validation of the biofertilizers. I started with the fertilizers here, and we wanted to showcase to some of our farmers that these things are working, because there is some outcry from some of them. The other conventional fertilizers are expensive. But as a business entity, our main business is production of fertilizers, organic fertilizers. So the project also helps us to demonstrate to the farmers how these fertilizers work. There are different demos at different stages. Some of the places, I don't know whether we'll be able to reach all of them. The rice is at harvesting stage, some at flowering, some, because here there's no calendar. We got different plots at different stages. So we shall also be able to see that. But out of experience, these fertilizers cost about 40% less than the conventionals in the market. Productivity-wise, we can scale it that at least you'll get what you would get when you use the conventionals. But when you continuously use this, there is always an increment of almost 20% in production. I will not take much of your time. I leave it at that. Thank you.
Yes, thanks a lot, the team from VermiPro. Now, we are going to be yesterday we heard about the biochar that Bongo Min Group is making. And so I'm just going to invite someone from New Cafe that have been taking up this biochar. In 5 minutes, they're just going to give us a brief on what they've been able to achieve with this biochar they have been using. New Cafe.
In our hubs, a demonstration and a demo association move further. We also did the quantity. So, still, that's the other very farm. We saw that this was the coffee that we established after some time. Then we also have a control. We're not able to go to all the pictures, maybe later. Then this was when Ebong talked about climate resilience and carbon sequestration. So this was a bit of dry season, and biochar's ability to retain moisture for a longer time. Next. So this is a farm that we got when it was like this, one of the demonstrations that we are rehabilitating. Actually, before the intervention, we move the next photo. I only want to use 5 minutes. So this is during the intervention, when we're now applying the biochar and stamping the coffees. Give us the next, what happened after, you see? What happened after is that, you see that the farmer was happy, was able to harvest the coffee, and also the coffee, the vegetation improved, okay? So this, like the other one, next. Next photo. Okay, so what we are looking at, basically, because we didn't have sustainability in terms of production of this biochar, the demand actually increased in these areas. This is in R4ICSA, whereby some farmers became creative and started micro production units of biochar. So the uptake is there. They keep asking me up to now, and some of us got names in the area. We're now called biochar. So this is a simple production of biochar whereby farmers are uptaking. Yeah, there are so many raw materials per using. Basically, this per using coffee husks. Yeah, because you know coffee husks delay to decompose because of their CN ratio. So, next. I think that's all I have for today. Thank you so much. These are some of the farms demonstrations were established in that year. This is how they are right now. Thank you so much. Yeah, my name is Ronald Onyangai, production program manager.
Okay, thanks, Ronald. Yeah. Yeah, just in case of any questions that we can ask that during the general discussion we have later in the day. At this point in time, just before we have the break, I'm going to welcome Mr. Andrew Cheboy to take us through the theory of change. Mr. Andrew.
Okay, thanks, Paul, and thanks, Moses and Ronald for sharing your experiences. And this kind of sharing we should be asking ourselves, what does it mean in the context of what the project presented yesterday about moving forward, and also about what you do, either as an entrepreneur or as a community. So we should be having those things at the back of our minds. Okay? I just wanted to remind you that. And then secondly, you see, this event is organized by Kilimo Trust, and we are participants. Kilimo are participants. The consulting team are supposed to be guiding us to ensure that we are getting the things right. And so before I even present this theory of change and everything, I want to be sure that they are comfortable. So let me give them the chance that they are getting what they want to get from this process. Michael.
Thank you, Andrew. I think we are progressing very well, and the issues are coming up very well. Issues about the whole value chain, the circular economy, digital approaches, and we are seeing opportunities as we progress, because we have seen VermiPro, what they are doing with not just the fertilizer, but other products for animals and poultry. And these are things we need to consider when we talk about diversification at the farmer level, because we want to help the farmer in all ways. So apart from consuming the VermiPro products, what other rice products can we give to these animals to enhance production? And how can the products from these animals be then used in the rice farms? So that's the regenerative agriculture we are talking about. So we want Stu to hear some more as we document the learning. Do we have someone from Rice Millers Council? Okero. Huh? Oh, okay. Then we also have Dr. Kayesi. We want to hear about the soil testing. Yeah? Is Dr. Kayesi there? It's not there. And Fred Kirby on animal feeds. Yeah, so we start with Okero. 5 minutes, then we complete this session.
Thank you very much. I'm Yobo Okelo. I'm actually the Secretary General of the Rice Millers Council. The Rice Millers Council consists of millers, farmers, input dealers, and all the actors involved in the value chain. We got together, it is like we play an advocacy role to interact with the government, how to make a difference in the policy. Policy is the key thing. If government loses its oversight, then it damages the domestic sector. The rice sector has been doing very well since, especially since the introduction of what they call the CET, Common External Tariff. At that time, they brought in if you bring rice from outside, the purpose of CET, Common External Tariff, was to protect the domestic industry. That's why the Ugandan domestic rice industry grew exponentially. That's why the Tanzanian rice industry grew exponentially, and even Rwanda and Kenya. But along the way, government started diluting it. How? There was an investor who came who wanted to mail, for example, brown rice from Pakistan. So they gave him special concessions. I think he went to the big man directly, confused him, and he also said, "Oh yeah, let's accept." He forgot that actually he was damaging was interfering with that policy, diluting it. And that was the beginning of the slight, it made some changes we made noise, of course. And in fact, he realized later, then he called us, say, oh, well, we did not, of course, admit, but he said, all right, let's now improve on it. Let's stop this. And now let's give imports of brown rice to all members of the Millers Council who can afford. And then let's allow only for 2 years. And meanwhile, people must develop farms. That's how the SWT company started setting up large farms in Bulambuli. That's why Bongomin is involved with them. That's how there's somebody again in Agro-Ben is in Kamuli, and many others. I think Agro, there's another one, somebody in Bulambuli, Faith Agro, and many others set up in Amur. Remember, rice, I think 46% is upland, and then the balance is lowland. We have done very well in promoting upland rice. I think we are the champions in Africa, exporting that technology of Nerika 4 and Nyamche 6 or 5. Other countries are learning from us. The only thing is policy. That's why we're there struggling to make sure that the policy remains. The purpose is to protect the domestic industry. We hope we shall succeed. We are knocking at the doors of the Prime Minister, doors of the Deputy Prime Minister, so that these policies are not really diluted. That's the purpose of the Rice Millers Council. Our chairman is Ambassador Indro, used to be the Director General of ISO, and together we work together with him in this regard. As I said, currently most of the bigger mills are having some pressure because the domestic industry is not performing well. Somebody was saying that, yes, I know rice is a deficit crop, but the actions of Tanzania should not be to destroy the domestic industry here. Just like we're also respecting them in the sugar industry. You imagine if Tanzania opened the doors for sugar, their domestic industry will collapse. But we are not doing it, actually. They are not doing it. They are protecting their industry. Even our neighboring Kenyans here, in terms of milk, don't think that all the milk goes there. No, it goes in smaller quantities. There is a deficit there, but we just to reinforce and protect the other domestic industry. I know there is room for rice to grow. Kenya alone imports $1 million per day of rice. It used to be from Pakistan, but luckily Tanzania has overtaken Pakistan in import of rice rather export of rice to Kenya. Tanzania is also exporting rice to Zambia, which is a good thing as East Africans. That's what we want to do. We also want to cover the West African market. You cannot fulfill the Nigerian West African market. They are consuming over $6 billion just on importation of rice. We shall never conquer that market. So the rice industry is moving with all those smaller problems there. We hope to solve them. What we want to do is to encourage on this mechanization. That is the key to reducing the production costs. What they call power hydrotiller, what they use in the Philippines, we are now able to reverse engineer and make it here. Now the next step is affordability. This is where we're engaging government, say, help us in upscaling these so that it reaches to many farmers and we can increase more rice. The problem is production. It's not milling. We have got good milling capacity, good milling, in terms of quality. Most millers above 10 tons per day have
In the next session, we'll have something on key recommendations, and I want you to sit on the policy group so that you can also suggest some which we need to fast track. So, yeah, Fred, on the animal feeds.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I'm Fred Kabi from Makerere University, and I'm a professor of animal nutrition. So it gives me much pleasure to come here, especially in the sharing process by Kilimo Trust. And therefore, I thank Kilimo Trust for creating this platform for sharing of knowledge. And for you to share knowledge, there must be a process of a production of this knowledge. And when you produce the knowledge, you want to share it. And when you share the knowledge, you want it to be used. And in this way, you'll be doing what we call the knowledge-based economy. But quite often on the streets, you hear most people saying that, oh, Makerere is theoretical. Makerere is theoretical. But we usually tell people that there is nothing as practical as good theory. You can only practice, you can only innovate if you have good theory. And all the presentations that I've been seeing here, they are indicative of the fact that there is a lot of biology, there is a lot of theory going on, and it is this theory that is being translated into use. And dare to innovate if you are not theoretical enough, and you will be sparing disaster. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest challenges, one of the greatest questions of our times has been, how do our people continue living in, we are living in periods of scarcity in a midst of plenty. How can this be? This is the question of our time, but unfortunately, it has also been the same question of prehistoric and historic times. There have been people living in scarcity, but within a midst of plenty. So then, this means that the majority of people, especially on the African continent and part of Asia, are living in abject poverty and hunger. So then, how do we eliminate this question of extreme hunger and poverty within the African context, and especially in Uganda, but in a sustainable way? And of course, Africa being the epicenter of this extreme hunger and poverty, where of course Uganda is, and Uganda being the pearl of Africa, which has all the best environment for food production, and we still talk about extreme hunger, poverty, and of course this is SDG number 1 and SDG number 2. So how do we address these issues, but in a sustainable way? Before we attempt to address this question of hunger and poverty, we need to pass through these 3 steps. First of all, we need to understand what are the causes of hunger. Secondly, what are the consequences of a community that is living in abject hunger and poverty? And then thirdly, how do we use approaches? Could be innovative, could be scientific, to address this question of hunger. So how do we respond? And exactly here, what Kilimo Trust is doing is to respond. I'm not so sure whether they were able to ask, why is it that we are living in this abject poverty and hunger, especially in a country like Uganda, where you have 2 rain seasons, and therefore 2 production systems, where the soils are fertile, still have to deal. And if we have to bring in the integration of livestock into rice production, then these byproducts and utilization of these products by what is the ratio? Yes, to do this on dry matter basis. And in this way, there is business opportunity. And of course, when you talk about the people who have this tract, like calcium, in terms of magnesium, and all these will be supplied to the plants. And secondly, it has the capacity to get the water attached, and it will stay for a long time. And therefore, once you have the nutrients, once you have the water, and then the third thing is that because of its porosity, it is evaporating all the time. Water is evaporating. And it is common knowledge that evaporation causes cooling. And therefore, you will have a plant during stress times when it is quite cool. And therefore, the plant will be able to access water, it will be able to access the nutrients, and it will also be cool. And therefore, into biochar, because when they go at the rhizosphere, they are taken in by the plant with the water, and they support a lot of breakdown of the silicon in a nature in a way that is available to the plants. And the plants need silicon for resistance to drastic weather conditions. That is on the crop side. But when it comes to the animal side, of course, somebody has said we can use biochar and husks as a bedding. So if you are dealing with a dairy animal, it also needs a cool place. It also needs comfort. So once you have the biochar together with the husks, and there is some moisture over there, you know, of course, the evaporation that causes able to take in as much feed as it can possibly take in, because there is no stress of temperatures, of heat, and therefore the productivity will be high just by that simple action. And that is the theory behind why we need those byproducts of rice into livestock production. But, of course, so if we are to deal with sustainable agriculture, sustainable livestock production, sustainable rice production, then we are extremely wise, because we want to produce rice for posterity. And therefore, this means that the single commodity approach, which considers crops and livestock as different entities without those integration that support forward and backward linkages, can never be sustainable. And this is why I was so much impressed when I was asking about the mechanisms of action of legumes in the control of diseases. And one young man clarified this to my satisfaction, and people who were seated next to me, I think they saw me vigorously shaking my head vertically in appreciation. So, if we want sustainable rice production, it is imperative that we integrate it with livestock production. And this integration is not simply a matter of a mixed kind of system. It should be a system where byproducts of rice go to support livestock. This is the circular economy that we are talking about. And yesterday I was about to fire my ndugu from Kenya a question when he was talking about the opportunities for scaling. Actually, they were so evident that they were all knowledge-based. They are all about circular economy, which is very great. But then my question by yesterday was, are you scared about the relationship between the level of education, the level of incomes, to the extent to which most of these innovations can be taken up? You know, we are doing this. It's a great thing. But the policy, there must be a policy somewhere that also supports our communities to be somewhere at the level of education. Because if we are to talk about sustainability, somebody whose major goal is to find something to eat today will not think about the sustainability. They will think about the immediate thing. How do I solve hunger? And how do I get more rice to make more profit? But with people who have a certain level of education, they will quickly see this, and the innovations will simply be taken up. So as we are doing this, it is something great, but it is also very good. And you've done it. There must be also issues of policy advocacy in other supporting areas in which can support agriculture. I know I'm a fan of listening to Miss Kirabo there. She doesn't know that we've made a program in Kabanyolo on tangible, sellable products. Thank you very much.
Rice production, livestock, poultry, into circular economy. And also taking care of the environment for the... Yeah, we can...
I have a...
From material, the agings, such that this material is pre-composted before we introduce these materials to the earthworms. And that is very important, because you will know that one of the major food for earthworms is actually cattle manure. And therefore, if you are using rice straw during the aging process, you need to introduce a little bit of the cattle manure. But of course, we also age it with a number of microbes that would be able to support the aging process. And so once you age them, then you can be able to introduce any type of earthworms. There are two types of earthworms that are very important for our case. In Uganda, we have the wrigglers, or the so-called Udrilus eugenei, and that is big in size, but their rate of reproduction is not as great as the Eisenia fetida or the Perionyx excavatus. These are a little bit tiny, and they are not as good, they are not as big as Udrilus eugenei, which are the night crawlers. Other people call them night crawlers, but they are night crawlers, which is actually Udrilus eugenei. So now, the advantage Eudrilus eugene is that, or the night crawler, it is indigenous. If you went somewhere and you knew how to trap it, you would be able to get it. And secondly, it is big, and the earthworm eats according to its size. So the amount of the materials that it will eat will depend on its size. But where the Eisenia fetida beats it is that it reproduces so fast and the numbers are big. But again, each worm will take in so little. And if I take you back to the process of vermicomposting, much as physically the earthworm has to take in the material, which is pre-composted, the real digestion is actually by a community of microbes in the gut. And also the gut has a gizzard like the gizzard of a chicken. And that's why when we are feeding them, you must also include some soil with a little bit of sand, what we call grit in chicken. So it aids the process of comminution, the process of grinding, such that what it grinds become tiny particles, and then it ejects out these tiny particles as vermicast. And it is this vermicast which is rich in microbes. And as somebody said, this vermicast is very rich in a community of microbes. I actually wanted to do a profiling with the Swedish University of Agriculture to see the communities of microbes that are in this vermicast, because actually we want to integrate the earthworms in the frass that is produced by the black soldier fly, because the black soldier fly doesn't have enough microbial community as compared to the earthworm. So meaning that if you fortified the frass from the black soldier fly with the earthworm, then you will get a better community and a bigger community of microbes, and therefore meaning that you will be having more of these plant growth hormones that support better growth of the plants. And these, the researchers, these are simple experiments that we are doing with the students, but we can replicate this such that you can also do this. Dr. Kagoda, you can do this on the different sites in the various areas. My director here of Buginyanya can also direct his researchers to do this, and the results should be enormous. I hope I've attempted, but let us not try to mix these things through interbreeding and all that, because these are different species. As you can see, the other one is Fetida species, and then this one is Eugene species, and the other one is excavators, and there are so many species. So let us work with what we have, and people will appreciate.
Thank you. I also saw some in Egerton, the red earthworms producing also the vermijuice.
Thank you, Doctor. Your presentation has enlightened me more so on the use of rice bran, but also raised a big fear. Because as a pig farmer, and maybe speaking on behalf of many other smallholder pig farmers, we've been using rice bran as what I would refer to as biomass to kind of raise the volume of feeds in supplementation to the maize bran that we use, because we all know that maize bran is a bit expensive. So you put in the rice bran to raise the volume so that the rice husks has a lot of silicone that is dangerous to the intestinal track of these livestock, the monogastrous livestock, where pigs fall apart. This goes back to our millers, where we get this rice bran from. Most of them, I don't know whether it's because of the kind of machinery that they have, but most of these mills, they produce only two products. That is rice, grain, but from these small mills, we get a mixture. That already is a clear indication that our farmers are subjecting their animals to very big risks. The reasons why these farms are not growing. You are rearing a pig for over 2 years and it cannot even be sold at 200,000. I don't know, maybe there's need for some kind of education there. But also, I'm a piggery farmer using IMO technology. And we've heard here that we can use rice husks plus biochar as bedding in those piggery units. Under IMO technology, the pigs end up eating their beddings. Because you put a volume today, after about a month or two, that volume has gone. You have to add. The explanation is that they feed on that bedding. Isn't that a big fear for us, the piggery farmers? I thank you.
Thank you. I think we want to go for tea now.
I think Prof could briefly react to that.
Okay. Then after that, we go for tea, because we are late. We are late to...
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. And very quickly, I will say that it has been very true, because International Livestock Research Institute tasked me to train millers in Mukono, in Kampala, and in Masaka, and in Wakiso. But what we concluded, what we discovered, was that actually, when you talk about rice bran, you are talking about rice husks. Invariably, this is what has been there. And we told them, stop it, because this is rubbish. It is rubbish that they are selling to people as feeds. And it doesn't make sense to the farmer. But they told us, look, the majority of our farmers are price sensitive. If you want to sell a quality feed, the farmers will not manage it. And therefore, for you to be able to lower the sustainability of your business, better do quality and avoid, fleecing the farmers. And therefore, we had national rather than chicha and into the rice hussocks as a bedding, and then the animals resort to eating it. Of course, if the animals try to eat it, they will not eat it in significant amounts. But they are eating it because possibly we've not supplied them with enough feeds. But the good thing is that if you were able to introduce some of the microbial communities, especially that you get from the vermiliquid, some of those microbes have the capacity to break down these two stubborn compounds in feeds, lignin and the silicon, which is dangerous to the animals. So that could be one area for the researchers to address the challenge that is being raised by the proprietors in pig production. It is a big challenge, but the good thing is that the animals will not take in so much of the bedding, like if you deliberately put the husk in maize bran and the animal takes it. I hope that addresses that question a little bit.
1 minute.
From Professor, feed additives. We can collaborate with other partners. If you go product, for example, but you have put those feed
For tea, because there are some people who we had not taken enough for the field. Tea, and then come back. 15 minutes.
Is that biochar is a carbon sink. It's a carbon sink. What that means is that people plant it with a coffee tree. It enhances the coffee tree to remove carbon from the atmosphere.
Coffee Farmers Organization. To promote enriched biochar, the team has set up demonstration gardens near their production plant so as to monitor performance of the product as well as build confidence among potential clients.
Some of our clients may require enriched biochar, but you know, to develop the market, people want to see, then they begin to believe. And we want to champion into the scene how the enriched biochar will work. And that's why we chose it, that we first use it ourselves as a demonstration for other clients who have been taking biochar as it is, that actually the enriched biochar is much better than the one which is not plain, which is not enriched.
So you take one unit of well-decomposed farmyard manure plus 1 unit of biochar plus 1 unit of soil. Then you ensure that you mix them thoroughly. As you can see, when it is thoroughly mixed, you can utilize it in your garden.
Biochar, whether enriched or not, is an important soil enhancement that promotes crop growth, as explained by Dr. Lawrence Owere, the Director, Buginyanya Zonal Agricultural Research and Development Institute.
So for biochar, we have tried it not only in rice, but even with maize. It works, and it even works better if it is, let me say, enriched. Because biochar per se, it will mainly support the biological and probably the physical activities of the soil, but not mainly the chemical. So in that matter, we can enrich it with the required nutrients. We have done it with maize. Now we are going into rice. Instead of just burning the straw or throwing it away, this straw can be used positively to be put back. You make biochar and put it back to supply and augment nutrients in the soil for better rice growth in the following seasons.
In view of his findings as a research scientist, Dr. Lawrence Owere believes the project is on the course to meeting the intended objectives. Apart from biochar, the project is promoting rice legume integration to enhance fertility, but also reduce the use of nitrogen-based fertilizers by 20%, as proven by research.
In terms of reducing the use of external fertilizers, and particularly
that will a legume crop, because we know that legumes they fix nitrogen in the soil in addition to other nutrients.
Whereas rice comes from numerous benefits, its propagation and production is a labor-intensive venture and requires a highly skilled workforce during land preparation, planting and processing to ensure order and to realize maximum productivity. This gap was identified by Bonmin Group Limited, leading to introduction of the agricultural wage worker model in the rice production under the R4ICSA project.
Bonmin Group, through the agricultural wage worker model, trains young men whom they recruit into their system. And the way they work is that these young men are trained through a period of 1 to 2 years on the several practices. But the difference is that this labor that they are providing is skilled labor. And because of that, the farmers who are clients to Bonmin Group, for whom this youth work, are able to realize good yields on their farms.
what people us to begin the business of labor supply and the need that to go, which to go in for rice on large scale, but what will limit them majorly was labor. Rice is a tedious crop, more so in management, so we realized if we came up to supply labor to the farmers, very many will be encouraged to grow rice.
So the training that they got in transplanting rice is the skills. One, they have to know how many seedlings are they supposed to transplant. Two, they have to know how to separate them. Three, they have to know how to transplant, to make it enter the soil.
Because of that, we're going to have improved productivity of the rice crop, because the agronomic practices are right. When we talk about fertilizer application, when we talk about chemical application, these are done effectively.
Since they got the skill, they have really changed, because someone can get in a week 250,000 a week when he has transplanted the rice.
So all I did is to talk to them, I contacted them to help me with this rice planting and rice farm. Their work is extraordinary, their own, and they want to make sure that at least you get what you want from the garden.
The model that is being promoted for the first time in eastern Uganda is likely to increase rice production in the region. Though still in its pilot phase in Uganda, the project has been able to increase uptake of sustainable rice production practices like efficient use of water and utilization of soil nutrients. Farmers can now practice intermittent flooding of their rice fields and are also rotating the crops with leguminous crops for nutrition, income, and increased soil fertility.
Yes.
The Reduce, Reuse, Recycle Rice Initiative for Climate-Smart Agriculture is a project implemented in Kenya and Uganda with the aim of promoting sustainable rice production practices. In Uganda, the project is being implemented in eastern Uganda as a pilot through Kilimo Trust with funding from IKEA Foundation of the Netherlands. The objective of the project is for stakeholders in the value chain to understand whether the initiatives are sustainable and commercially viable, and also to promote sustainable rice production systems. Anthony Mugambi is the R4ICSA project leader.
This project is aimed at, first of all, ensuring that we have evidence of breakdown on basically use and reuse and recycling of rice byproducts, particularly the two byproducts of husks and rice straws. So we want to show that those kinds of initiatives, first of all, are sustainable, they are commercially viable, and empirical evidence. But also, secondly, we also want to promote sustainable rice production systems by the various rice value activities.
Although rice is considered a high-value crop, it is one of the contributors to the effects of climate change because its fields emit greenhouse gases, methane, and carbon dioxide arising from anaerobic respiration. Because production is bound to increase, climate-smart and regenerative agriculture practices are being introduced in the rice value chain by the project, such as recycling rice husks into biochar, mainly used as fuel, and organic fertilizer, or as carbon sink to reduce such effects.
Rice contributes to climate change in a big way, particularly with the increased adoption of rice production. There is a lot of production of greenhouse gases like methane from the rice fields. And one of the ways to promote and also to ensure that we have climate-smart production is ensuring that we reduce some of these greenhouse gases, such as to produce biochar.
Private sector players that embraced the production of biochar since 2019 include Bongmin Group Limited, headed by Mr. Andrew Ebong.
The word biochar means charcoal. Yes, just char is charcoal. So in this case, biochar rice husk is charcoal and rice husk. Biochar has a lot of benefits. One, biochar associated with all water for a long time. Number two, biochar enhances microbial activities. The microbial activities in the long run enhances the soil structure, improve the soil structure, soil aerations, and so on. Biochar is buffer, soil pH buffer. When it is, it's towards neutral. When the pH is acidic, put it, bring it towards what? Toward alkaline. So it's a pH buffer. Number four is that biochar is a carbon sink. It's a carbon sink. What that means is that you plant it with a coffee tree. It enhances the coffee tree to remove carbon from the atmosphere as much as possible and fix it in place.
The group has so far supplied 6 tons of biochar to New Cafe, a coffee farmers organization, and are still supplying to date. The organization uses biochar to raise coffee seedlings that are given to their members. To promote enriched biochar, the team has set up demonstration gardens near their production plant so as to monitor performance of the products as well as build confidence among potential clients.
Some of our clients may require biochar, but when we are in the market, we want to champion and see how the enriched biochar will work, and that's why we chose it, that we first use it ourselves as a demonstration for other clients who are moving biochar as it is, that actually the enriched biochar.
So you take one well-composed farm manure plus 1 unit of biochar plus 1 unit of soil.
That is now the study we are on.
Then you ensure that you mix them thoroughly. When it is thoroughly mixed, you can utilize it in your garden.
Biochar, whether enriched or not, is an important soil enhancement that promotes crop growth, as explained by Dr. Lawrence Owere, the Director, Buginyanya Zonal Agricultural Research and Development Institute.
So biochar, we have tried it, not only in rice, but even with maize. It works, and it even works better if it is, let me say, enriched. Because biochar per se mainly supports the biological and physical activity, but not mainly chemical. So in that matter, we can enrich it with the required, instead of just burning it, positive. Be put back, make biochar, put it back, to supply and augment the soil for better rice growth.
In view of his findings as a research scientist, Dr. Lawrence Owere believes the project is on the course to meeting the intended objectives. Apart from biochar, the project is promoting rice legume integration to enhance fertility, but also reduce the use of nitrogen-based fertilizers by 20%, as proven by research.
In terms of reducing the use of external fertilizers, particularly N or nitrogen-based fertilizers, we are promoting what we are calling rice legume integration, where we are rotating our rice crop with a leguminous crop so that we are able to fix at least 20% of the nitrogen requirements in the field so that we reduce on the use of external nitrogen.
We want to break that cycle of farmers planting rice after rice after rice after rice, because definitely that will encourage build-up of pests will encourage build-up of diseases and nutrient mining from the soil. So through this project, there are 2 or 3 activities. One of them is that we shall do a kind of crop rotational approach, whereby we can be able to break that cycle of rice, and then we rotate with a legume crop. Because we know that legumes, they fix nitrogen in the soil, in addition to other nutrients.
Whereas rice comes from numerous benefits, its propagation and production is a labor-intensive venture and requires a highly skilled workforce during land preparation, planting, and processing to ensure order and to realize maximum productivity. This gap was identified by Bongmin Group Limited, leading to introduction of the agricultural wage worker model in the rice production under the R4ICSA project.
Bongmin Group, through the agricultural wage worker model, trains young men whom they recruit into their system. And the way they work is that these young men are trained through a period of 1 to 2 weeks on the several practices. But the difference is that this labor that they are providing is skilled labor. And because of that, the farmers who are clients to Bongmin Group, for whom this youth work, are able to realize good yields on their farms.
What brought us to begin the business of labor supply is the need that we realized from the farmers, because farmers would wish to go in for rice production. Some of them would wish to go in for rice on large scale, but what would limit them majorly was labor. Rice is a tedious crop, more so in management. So we realized if we came up to supply labor to the farmers, very many will be encouraged to grow rice.
So the training that they got in transplanting rice is the skills. One, they have to know how many seedlings are they supposed to transplant. 2, they have to know how to separate them. 3, they have to know how to transplant, to make it enter the soil.
Because of that, we're going to have improved productivity of the rice crop, because the agronomic practices are right. When we talk about fertilizer application, when we talk about chemical application, these are done effectively.
Since they got the skill, they have really changed, because someone can get in a week 250,000 a week when he has transplanted the rice.
So all I did is to talk to them. I contacted them to help me with this rice planting and rice farming. Their work is extraordinary, for sure, because I didn't expect this in Uganda here. I didn't totally expect it. Their work is too good. They work as if it's their own, and they want to make sure that at least you get what you want from the garden.
The model that is being promoted for the first time in eastern Uganda is likely to increase rice production in the region. Though still in its pilot phase in Uganda, the project has been able to increase uptake of sustainable rice production practices like efficient use of water and utilization of soil nutrients. Farmers can now practice intermittent flooding of their rice fields and are also rotating the crops with leguminous crops for nutrition, income, and increased soil fertility. The Reduce-Reuse-Recycle initiative for climate-smart agriculture is a project implemented in Kenya and Uganda with the aim of promoting sustainable rice production practices. In Uganda, the project is being implemented in eastern Uganda as a pilot through Kilimo Trust with funding from IKEA Foundation of the Netherlands. The objective of the project is for stakeholders in the value chain to understand whether the initiatives are sustainable and commercially viable, and also to promote sustainable rice production systems. Anthony Mugambi is the R4ICSA project leader.
This project is aimed at, first of all, ensuring that we have evidence of empirical evidence. Basically, we are supposed to collect empirical evidence and publish it on basically use and reuse and recycling of rice byproducts, particularly the two byproducts of husk and rice straws. So we want to show that those kind of initiatives, first of all, are sustainable, they are commercially viable through empirical evidence. But also, secondly, we also want to promote sustainable rice production systems by the various rice value chain actors.
Although rice is considered a high-value crop, it is one of the contributors to the effects of climate change because its fields emit greenhouse gases, methane and carbon dioxide arising from anaerobic respiration. Because production is bound to increase, climate-smart and regenerative agriculture practices are being introduced in the rice value chain by the project, such as recycling rice husks into biochar, mainly used as fuel, and organic fertilizer, or as carbon sink to reduce such effects.
Of course, rice contributes to climate change in a big way, particularly with the increased adoption of rice production. There is a lot of production of greenhouse gases like methane from the rice fields. And one of the ways to promote and also to ensure that we have climate smart production is ensuring that we reduce some of these greenhouse gases, such as methane, carbon dioxide, for instance. You've seen when we've been moving out to the field, you've seen a lot of some of our partners now using or reusing the rice husks to produce biochar.
Private sector players that embraced the production of biochar since 2019 include
Let's come back, come with our teas.
Mr. Andrew Ebong.
The word biochar.
Ladies and gentlemen, come in.
Charcoal from waste.
Hello.
So,
hello, sorry.
In this case, biochar.
Hello.
Rice husk.
Yes, I think 90% of us are in, but there's the critical 10%.
Biochar has a lot of benefits. Number one, biochar, as I said, is a water retainer. It holds water for a longer time. Number two, biochar enhances microbial activities. The microbial activities in the long run enhances the soil structure, improve the soil structure, soil aerations, and so on. Biochar is a buffer, soil pH buffer. When it is, it's towards neutral. When the pH is acidic, put it, bring it towards what? Towards alkaline. So it's a pH buffer. Number four is that biochar is a carbon sink. It's a carbon sink. What that means is that you plant it with a coffee tree. It enhances the coffee tree to remove carbon from the atmosphere as much as possible and fix it into the soil.
The group has so far supplied 6 tons of biochar to New Cafe, a coffee farmers organization, and are still supplying to date. The organization uses biochar to raise coffee seedlings that are given to their members. To promote enriched biochar, the team has set up demonstration gardens near their production plant so as to monitor performance of the product as well as build confidence among potential clients.
Some of our clients may require enriched biochar, but to develop the market, people want to see, then they begin to believe. And we want to champion the see how the enriched biochar will work. And that's why we chose it, that we first use it ourselves as a demonstration for other clients who have been taking biochar as it is, that actually the enriched biochar is much better than the one which is not plain.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from your tea break. I want to briefly take you through the theory of change. You know, Prof said we need to also, the theories are good, the conceptual frameworks, those theories, they're very important. And every time I give examples of these big buildings, like in Kenya we have the KICC. I don't know here in Uganda which is the biggest and the tallest building. Yes, that one. You see, someone saw that building before it was put up. True or false? True, yes. So someone saw that building before it was put up. So even us as planners and designers, we need to see the future that we desire for this country, for this project, for the interventions that we design. So that then we are working and checking the boxes that, yes, we are on the right track, even as we implement. So next slide. When we were thinking about this project 2 years ago, which I hope time is vindicating us that it's true that it was nice to have such thoughts and put into test. We're thinking about that these propositions were true, that resilience and sustainability in agri-systems is contributed by mainstreaming regenerative and circular agricultural practices in food value chains. And then two, that utilization of byproducts of rice farming systems contribute to regenerative agriculture and circular economy. So those were part of the propositions. And third, that increased adoption of sustainable rice production practices, together with evidence-based knowledge products on circular economy and regenerative agriculture, which are used to influence policy, are key drivers to the two propositions. And as I stop here, when I was listening to a professor from Makerere University, and mentioning about the products that we have now in rice, the rice itself that's milled, I can hear a lot of noise. I think there are several meetings in the room. Let's have one. We have two products. We have three products. One, we have the main rice that we so desire because it's human food. But we also have human food from other sources that these other byproducts are building into. So we're talking about the bran, the husks, whether it's broken, the straw. And three, the current demand we're discussing about rice itself, whether it's coming from Tanzania, Thailand, Pakistan. And what are we thinking about in the next 50 years, 30 years from now? What will be the demand like for straw? What will be the demand like for husks? How about bran? At what point will they be at equilibrium? Right now, when we go to Tororo cement, they're using a lot of husks. In Mwea, in Kenya, there is a lot of competition and tension between those who are using biochar rice pathways, husks, and then the cement factories coming for husks because they want to extract silica. So there are those competitions, and maybe, we don't know, we need to be thinking about those research things, about the balance between straw, grain, husks, and the other products, because they may be needed in equal measure in future. Next slide. So then, this is what we went out to test for 2 years. That one, we're looking at the top level, regenerative and circular agricultural food systems. But then within the next level, which is not as broad as the top one, is we are testing regenerative and circular food systems using rice as a case. Then at the lower level, we're looking at three aspects. One is, of course, farmers and others are adopting sustainable rice practices. And two, also issues around legume rice integration and how that is one leading to increased rice production. Of course, we've listened in the first, yesterday and today, the beneficial interaction between rice and legumes. And then 3, we're looking at the business cases at this end on the prototypes. What innovations are taking place around rice waste utilization, rice byproducts, and composting asks. We've listened about what the millers are doing, what FamiPro and others are doing. What are the business cases around that will drive innovations? 1, 2, sustain models. Is there a business? Because what is the motivation of agripreneurs to invest, to put money? If the guy is going to equity to get 100 million, what is the return on that investment? Then 3rd area is around, then of course, farmers to continue producing rice, because if they don't produce rice, then we can't be talking about rice byproducts. It fails, the whole theory fails if there is no rice being produced, and if it is not produced in adequate quantities. And then, of course, at the other level is then what are the benefits around rice legume integration? Do we have the metrics to make that decision that this is working? And Sardi is doing that for Uganda. In Kenya, Egerton University is working around that, so that then some of the indicative findings we should fit into the next level. Whether we talked about, I know yesterday there was a debate around the soil samples. Were soil samples done before the legumes were put in? How about after harvesting? What is the behavior of the soils? And then what's also the physical behavior even of the rice? And how can we test also that the demand for more N externally is what's happening around nitrogen, around that soil? What is then happening on external requirement for nitrogen, for rice, after harvesting of legume? All that need to be science-based and informed. Byproducts, about then extension messaging. And that's what we're discussing, the rice systems. So our next slide is, please. Next slide. We're looking at rice legume integration, grazing unit or livestock rice, or even other systems, not necessarily rice, but we need to see where does it get the best value for us and for the environment, for livestock, for everybody in the ecosystem. What is the problem currently in Uganda, apart from poverty? What is it? We're talking about youth unemployment, maybe. We're talking about, so how is that contributing to solving our problems? Because if it cannot solve our problem, it may solve the immediate need of food, but then there is the bigger problem that needs to be resolved. To resolve why we are in our current situation now. Why are we in our current situation now? The root causes of our problems. So it has to speak to the root causes of our problems. So in our discussions, even as we look at the proposal, scale up, I want us to look at this, what we are thinking as key solutions around this regenerative agriculture, around these constraints that are happening around here, and 2, what problems are we resolving? What problems also would we be creating? You know, as we solve one problem, we may create another problem. And so then we also need to look at mitigation measures around some of those possible problems that our solution may create. Okay? Yes, so that is our big idea. It is not cast on stones. We are here to validate. We are here to make corrections. We are here to advise so that the program that we are going to design is our program. It is not for Kilimo, it is for all of us. Maybe Kilimo is leading, but we are all in it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adro. So as a follow-up to that, we are going to have our final activity. From our discussions since yesterday, we have seen some of the issues we need to consider for our theory of change to hold true. We have seen utilization of byproducts is still not yet optimal in Uganda, and farmers may not be benefiting from those byproducts. Maybe farmers are only getting paid for their rice, but when the byproducts are sold, are the farmers benefiting? And are they also using those byproducts optimally? There is also an issue of policy support, which we found to be a key issue. It's also not optimal. Issues of branding and marketing, which also falls into what Adro is saying about youth and economic empowerment. Issues of partnerships. We have seen a lot of people here. We have seen people from, we have seen farmers, we have seen off-takers like sorghum, mirrors, we have seen agronomists, capacity builders, we have seen processors, policymakers, input providers. And so what we need to think about is, are these partnerships well coordinated? And is there a way we can coordinate them much better to achieve optimum results? Apart from that, of course, there is the issue of farmer profitability. Are farmers getting adequate profits from the rice value chain? And is the capacity building adequate? Are there some things they still need to be made aware of? When Professor and other people are talking, I realized there is still a lot that farmers need to know about composting and all those things, about feeding animals, why you should not feed animals with bran mixed with husks, for instance, destroying the digestive system. Do they know all those things? Issues of rice legume integration. Why is the uptake low? We had it's less than 40%. Income diversification. Are the farmers diversifying their means of income? Is there circular economy and regenerative agriculture? Do they have those animals at home for that, to enable that regenerative agriculture? Research and research products, there are a lot of proposals on what kind of research we need to do, both on rice production and on use of byproducts. There are also issues of governance and structures, farmer structures, issues of management of irrigation systems, farming corridors. So all these are issues we need to include as we scale up the program in the next phase. So what we are going to do is Rita is going to give you some questions we had developed in your tables, the tables you are working, agricultural food systems. So Rita, you can give to the tables the way they were yesterday. Yeah, each table had a theme. So 10 minutes, we give this, and then we can prepare to go to the field. Each table will tell you. Each table will tell you what they have. Okay, some of them may be a bit different. but majority are similar. So you discuss them. Then you write each suggestion per card. We are also going to give you some cards. We will correct those cards. Each card will have one suggestion. You write on a card. One point per card.
Profitability and capacity. No, you do one. Those ones have taken. This is the gentleman you wanted to present. Right, thank you. Okay.
My members there.
Fine. On what? Harvest, post-harvest.
Harvest.
But
Yes. 1 point per card. On 2 or 3 key interventions in that area. Or scale up.
Profitability.
1 point per card.
1 point per card.
One point per card. Your idea was on rice.
High yielding rice.
High yielding rice. So you just give us 2 or 3 interventions in that area that we can consider during the So you're saying the structures are quite poor?
Excuse me, madam. This one seems to be dry. Could you help us with another one? Ah, good. Let's try this one.
Okay. So you give us 2 or 3 interventions that we can carry out in that area. You did not have any?
No, we didn't.
Ah, okay.
Hey, we are not understanding this. Research.
So this is what 2 interventions, 2 or 3, that we can recommend as regards research products in the next program, in the next year? Or have we done enough research?
In terms of what?
Interventions.
Interventions. What interventions?
Like now, is Kilimo Trust thinking of going on with research? On what? On what? several issues were coming up on research. Like that professor, right? Has all the evidence been collected on this intervention we are talking about?
No. Because
even on the use of the biofertilizer, have we done research to know what's the difference between it in terms of productivity? Have we done research in the rice fields to see how?
What we're doing right now is space.
Yeah,
space.
Maybe you can give some general recommendations on what you think needs to be done in the research area, even on utilization of byproducts. Yeah.
Okay. That will be. What you can make from it?
What is that?
Father of twins. Ugandan male laughing the father of twins. They get the women like being the mother. It is not a big thing for you. Really? Got a battle over the land. Food. Special.
And he's saying he has not understood the question.
What is very special? He's a man of detail.
So I'm asking you, has all the research been done?
And actually, he's the project committee that we can't. So we can't understand the question, then we are doing problem.
We are in trouble. What if we can't understand it?
Even the documentation process alone, I mean, I don't know, the Ugandan one, I don't know, that does not seem to be as advanced as the Kenyan one.
In terms of research?
Even at least the areas that are talking about rice in the paper, yeah, I've not heard anything about rice in the paper, but at least they're doing research for the sake of research. Which really, if you don't have a document, then maybe. He has sent me, you also must be having, I don't know if it's on the link you sent, the participant list, but I don't know, I can't open it. I don't know what's wrong with my Excel. So you should try. Then we see if it is a general problem or if it's me alone. Michael, you are in.
The Rita? That's okay. Good, yes, center. Can you identify one?
Just announce one researcher.
Identify one yourself. Yeah, identify one.
Can you get pro?
Because there are many. Yes, identify. Where is he? Oh. He's the one sharing there.
Where is the gentleman? The gentleman, I wanted to. Let me just see where he is.
don't need to type, huh? Stay with it. Yeah, please. I think now we have finished because it was only 2 or 3 points. Yeah?
Give us
So, can you finish up, please? We don't want to be late for field. Read them through so that people can hear what you came up with. 8, eh? It's okay. So write down what you have. In 2 minutes, we want to read through what you have in 2 minutes. 1 point per paper. Don't put many points in one paper. So the time is up. We want to hear what people have come up with. We start on this group of Professor. Okay, can you read through your points? You can read just from...
I go that side.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm representing Group 8, and we are looking at utilization of byproducts to benefit farmers. The key byproducts we saw were 3. That is rice straw, rice bran, and rice husks. Earlier on, we observed there was not much done on the rice bran, but there is a lot that can be done, especially on utilization of rice bran as an animal feed or as an animal feed ingredient. But in all cases, what we have observed is, number one, there is need to generate technical information about these products. For example, if we say we are getting rice husks after harvesting rice, how much would a farmer expect to get if he harvests 1 ton of rice? How much husks will he be able to get? How much rice bran will he be able to get? How much straw will he be able to get? Considering the fact that the rice bran and the rice husks are not harvested at the garden, they are actually processed at the factory. So if the farmer realizes the good use of the rice bran and the rice husks, he will have to demand for his husks, he will have to demand for his rice bran. Now, if he takes 1 ton, how much rice husks should he demand for? How much rice bran must he demand for? So there's need to get this information so that farmers are able to get the practical information for them to utilize these products. Secondly, even after that, if he harvests rice from 1 acre, how much nutrients will be extracted from this acre so that he is able to determine how much of the fertilizer is supposed to add to the acre so that he can maintain good yields. So based on that, the farmer needs to know the quantities of the fertilizer got from the husks that is required to replenish the nutrients that are harvested by the rice during its growth from the soil so that he can maintain continuously good yields from the what? From the garden, using the fertilizer got from the rice husks. The same applies to the rice bran, the same applies to the wheat straw. Once this information is generated, then we are in good position to talk to farmers, to create awareness about the use of these products among farmers. Once we've created awareness, that is disseminating information on the rice byproducts, then we move to the 3rd step. That is demonstrating to farmers how these products are utilized, how these products are formed, produced, and how they are utilized. Once we do these 3 things, I think we shall have created the demand for these products among farmers. Thank you very much.
Clap for him, please. Thank you. Which other group is ready? The next group? Come and present, please.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. I'm Rebecca Navifo, Diners
presenting on the behalf of Group 5. We are handling harvest, post-harvest, and processing. So we are given 3 points on harvest. So we recommend, in case the project is to continue, we should be having motorized rice cutters to harvest rice, motorized rice threshers for small-scale farmers, and combined harvesters for large to farmers, because farmers are still using the other ordinary way of drying rice direct on the ground. Then recommend to construct or establish concrete generating energy to dry the paddy, and also recommend to improve on their aggregation centers, because majority are still storing their rice in their homes. If you can come up with stores or aggregation centers for farmers to be better, to add quality to our paddy. Then went ahead and on processing, we recommend the use of multi-purpose mills or machines for us in order to have quality rice brand, and quality husks. As our product, rice has to be quality, because if you use a quality mill, the rice will be quality, to be free from stones, free from the chaffs, then even the brand will be the same issue. To our case, we as diners, our machine is multi-purpose, it does the destoning, it separates the brand from the husks, and also the pure from the broken content. So all our products and byproducts are well and can be recommended for farmers on the side of rice brand, and even for biochar, the husks are ever clean. So then we also said on the side of processors or millers, those who are not satisfied or those don't have the shoe mark should go on and get their brand for the rice they are processing. And also they should emphasize on the issue of labeling their brand packagings. That's all we had for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And I think that's a good way, having people who have not talked much to come and present, so that we can also hear from them. Next group.
Good afternoon, colleagues. This group looked at the governance and the farmer structures, what needs to be done going forward. We are saying, again, these farmers needs to be organized into groups. They should be facilitated to be legally registered with the current government structures, those who are not yet registered. They should be facilitated to have bylaws which should be operationalized. And again, this group should be formed looking at the approach of the area commodity enterprises. And at first, in this case, we are specifically looking at rice. And another very important activity, because this group will be undertaking a number of activities that require resources, they should also be facilitated. I'm using the word facilitated not to mean money, yes, but they should be facilitated to start a functional VSLAs for purpose, those things of saving and the like. But we are saying, going forward, important that these groups, when they've been helped and they are operating as area commodity enterprises, they should also look up an activity of establishing a district rice platform where these groups come together, there should be operationalization of a platform at a district level, each district level, because there could be unique features like what we have been sharing since yesterday, where a number of stakeholders come and discuss particular key issues concerning rice production. So we need that platform where we can have the farmers, the processors, the bankers, but at that region or district level. Important is that, so the other one was more of generic, but there should also be formation and operationalization of water user committees for proper managing. You remember that clearly came out yesterday. So we should focus activities that will ensure there are active functional water user committee at every area where rice production is taking place. It's okay. Then I think the project should also look at an aspect of ensuring that technical people, what we call in our language, the extension officers, are either recruited to handle maybe particular rice farmers in a cluster, or the other alternative is to also plan to see how they work together, create synergies with the local government, where it would require some facilitation or sort to help them attend to the farmers. So that was one area, and the core areas we thought to do be very important going forward. The other one was to look at the issue of diversification, income diversification by these groups. We are saying there are other important projects currently, so these groups should be encouraged to undertake other enterprises like fish farming, that legume, rice legume intercrop should be an area of interest, poultry, vegetable, and dairy. And importantly, to get more income, there should be validation. And then, yes, validation of the different products of rice will help diversify their income. We shouldn't look at, again, should stop at just production and selling. Yes.
So can we clap for the group? Twice, because they did two. Thank you. Yeah, another group?
So now we had two. I'll present the first one. My colleague will present the next one. We're looking at partnerships or linkages that would create. One, we have involving the private sector in commercializing the research. So we understand there's a lot of research going on, apparently in the pilot. So commercializing it by involving the private sector will be very important to move on. And also establishing consortiums, a consortium that can unite all the rice farmers, say in East Africa, would also be important in control of prices and also advocacy. The other one is scaling up partnerships to other rice farming areas. So the pilot, I think, is within Kwen, Tororo, and Butaleja. Maybe scaling it up to other areas in the country would be important. So those are the partnerships we're looking at. And the stakeholders involved in all this would be very important. Thank you.
So we had two. The other second one was conservation of environment. One, we looked at promoting soil and water conservation practices in upland catchment areas. Because when you look at a wetland, that is, there are upland areas where water comes down all the way to the wetland. So if we control the speed of that water through tree planting, putting strip bands, we would see how to reduce erosion. So then we also looked at the wetland itself. We look at reserving buffer zones and community engagement on wetland management. When we look at the open schemes, we could do the bands, but there are many growing areas where there are streams. So if we try to implement the approaches of wetland management, where we preserve the buffer zones and put other interests into consideration, then we can conserve the environment. Then we also looked at commercialization of vermicomposting of rice straws. Of course, aware that people are not, they need to get to know that there are products that can help without destroying the environment, other than them concentrating on using a lot of chemicals which they may not be able to control. Such chemicals find a way into the water bodies that contaminates the environment. So if we encourage them to use the biological and the composts, then we shall try to save on the environment. So promotion of use of rice byproducts in soil amendments. That is where we have the biochars, which are enriched, properly enriched, without excesses that may cause trouble to the environment. And then we shall continue to promote soil testing and sensitization and safe use of agrochemicals. So if we do that, then we try to minimize damage to the environment. And still, farmers destroy the wetlands because they try to follow the water. So if we promote design of small-scale irrigation facilities with consideration of conserving the environment, I think it will help us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Clap for him again. He has very many points. And sustainable conservation, rice is about conservation.
Thank you. Our group looked at rice legumes integration, and some of the interventions we put across include mobilization of farmers about the rice legume integration. We observed that not many farmers have embraced it just because they lack knowledge about it. So we also would like to undertake a cost-benefit analysis for the potential legumes to be integrated. This will give an opportunity for the farmers to choose the right enterprises to integrate within the rice growing. Then we also realized that there was an issue with markets. And so with this, we propose that there should be formalization of contractual arrangements between the farmers and the off-takers. These can be buyers, they can be millers. So if the farmers are assured of market, then we believe that they will be encouraged to take up the rice legume integration. Then also another point is that we need to support the line of legume processing and branding of the products and perhaps byproducts. Yeah, and this will be for consumption by the different consumers, including the high-end, those in the high-end markets and the ones, the BOPs, and also for livestock feeding. So these are all we propose. Thank you.
Thank you again. Any other group remaining? Okay.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our group looked at farmer profitability and capacity building, and these are some of the recommendations we came up with. We looked at recycle rice byproducts to enhance soil fertility. Yesterday we talked about how biochar is improving the soil fertility of different points. At the same time, the rice stalks. Professor Samuel was giving us a breakdown of how the rice stalks can be broken down into fertilizer. So if you recycle these byproducts, we can improve on our soil fertility. We also looked at adopt better agronomic practices, planting rice in lines, targeted fertilizer application, and many more other agronomic practices. They can help improve on the profitability of the farmers. We looked at farmers, encouraging farmers to form farmer associations and groups. This would help in lobbying and looking for bigger market, collective bargaining. Because if you form an association, you have a bigger bargaining power. Because your volumes are usually big, and you have better prices for your products. Adopt simple mechanization is another aspect we looked at. If you can have threaders, powered weeders, they help in the increase in the volume of work done and in a shorter period of time. There's also need to use high yielding and disease resistant varieties by the farmers in their gardens. I believe this will lead to, we believe that would lead to profitability. Then the farmers need to adopt proper management practices. How do the farmers, when should they let water into the garden? When should they let the water out? The construction of the banks. Those ones will help increase the production. There's also need to link farmers to financial institutions to take simple and soft loans to help them carry out their work. And finally, we came up need for more research to develop more workable technologies. Yesterday, this gentleman of Bongomin told us there's, I think, a weeding machine, I think, which was developed and improved on it. I think that is what we looked at. If there can be more improvements on what is available currently on market, it will help improve on the profitability of the farmers. Thank you.
Thank you. I think policy, have you sent it? Okay. Yeah, in morning we heard from Equity, so there is no shortage of loans.
Thank you. The policy group was supposed to provide to this assignment the kind of policy support that is required if we are to get our targeted outcomes. Number one, we thought that there is urgent need to see the conclusion and adoption of the National Rice Development Strategy 2, and why we are very much interested in this particular aspect is that how do we sell the best practices that we have been sharing since yesterday into this strategy, but also how do we see that country direction, development trajectory actually responds to the issues that we have identified here. So we thought that that instrument is very, very important, and among others also to see that it adopts the voluntary sustainability standards of rice production that are private sector led, these voluntary standards. but to address the issues that this very particular program seeks to address. The other aspect is to pursue the regulation of the importation of rice in Uganda to support the local domestic. We have been led to believe that when we talk about supporting our own economy or our own actors, it is obscene. It isn't obscene. It is actually responsibility because if we don't do that, we are giving away the jobs that the president is struggling to create. We are killing the industry that the president is struggling to industrialize. And we are subjecting ourselves to being a supermarket of food, which we are not known for. The other aspect, policy support, was the certification of the feed millers. I think this is an area that needs to be cleaned up as they are cleaning up the food millers, especially for meals, maize and rice, to ensure that the populace is given the right quality. So the feed side, I think it is not so long ago that we got the feed standards. So we really need those to be followed